Automating the APQP process. Normally, APQP process, Advanced Product Quality Planning, is typically within the confines of the automotive sector. Not anymore. General engineering industries, precision industries are looking at ways and means of incorporating this as a part of their product development process, primarily because of one word: audit from customer. How many times we close the shutters, stop everything else, prepare the document according to what the customer wants, and then open the shutters? Cross your heart and tell me. That gives you an important indicator in your organization that the Six Sigma or the Three Sigma process you need to monitor or implement is not really working. So something has to be done to fix it. Otherwise, you bleed every quarter 5 days. 5 man days productivity is lost per person every quarter, primarily because you are trying to comply with the process. If you are in that kind of a situation wherein your ISO audit or your QS audit is going to come back and haunt you because you have not done all these remedial measures, this presentation would be helpful to you with that point in mind. So we are going to go through the introduction to the APQP process. The APQP process, this doesn't work here, huh? APQP process management using SOLIDWORKS PDM, and then the engineering process, if required as a part of the APQP process, the quality process, and the engineering change management, and then we'll summarize with the benefits. Typically, in any APQP process, it was developed by the International Automotive Task Force. That's where the inception of this process came into picture. With the 2015 ISO 9000 series, it is more or less in alignment with what the APQP process demands in terms of actionable, demonstrable actions from the management with regard to adherence of the process, and also in terms of continuous improvement. So the APQP is a supplier fed and it's a supplier driven process. The goal of this is to facilitate the communication between all stakeholders who are actively involved in a program, whether it is the customer, your supplier, or yourself, or a combination of them, and looking at it as a high quality of event. Now the planning process, you would have gone through the APQP manual. This is reproduced over here, starting from the planning going all the way till production, with the product design and development and the process design and development coming in between, along with the product as well as process validation. Now coming back, you look at the APQP stages, you see the planning and the definition of the program, then the product design and development verification process, starting with the DFMEA, design failure modes and effects analysis, then verification, then reviews, then your prototype build goes on till your gauge R&R. And then you look at your process design and development verification, starting with the packaging standards and going on all the way till packaging specifications, and then the product and process validation. The last one is very important. These 4 stages need to be encapsulated. So when we go through this, the 5-stage process starts with the statement of requirement for the product that you're coming up with, going all the way till reporting, with design, build, and control coming in between. Basically, it is a documentation of the process that you are following. So what is the advantage of automating it? If people don't follow it, they are made to follow it, because they can't be seen as showstoppers, right? So one is to say, see, you are grazing the goats. You are going to the field and you are allowing the goats to sit there. Evening, now it's time for all the goats to return. You are the shepherd. கையில குச்சி வச்சா 1-2 தர்மத்துக்கு கட்டுப்பட்டு உள்ள வரும். சரியா? இதுவே ஒரு நாயை போட்டிங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, கடிக்காது, கொலைக்கும், எல்லாம் உள்ள வந்துடும். கரெக்டா? ஆட்டோமேஷன், ஆடிட் ஆஃப் த ப்ராசஸ், அதுதான். So if you want, in your absence, if the organization is running in your absence, how effectively is it running? How efficiently is it running? Imagine the situation where your mobile is not in your hand and you cannot conduct any meetings. These two are two productivity killers in any organization. The third one is the biscuit and the tea which serves along with it. Two productivity killers, mobile and meetings. Let us say you have to dispense with it. How would you run the organization without these two? I was visiting a Japanese company in Sri City, and the Japanese person showed me, because he was implementing this PDM, he showed me across the process, and then I asked him, I have not seen the quality department. He said there's no quality department, every department monitors its own quality. It was like a slap on my face, having been taught in the Western world how quality engineering department is very important. So if you were to monitor actively the qualitative procedures in your department, in your roles and responsibilities, that's exactly what this is supposed to do. This is a 5-stage process. So as you go through it, for example, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. The APQP process management using the SOLIDWORKS PDM, I'll just go through it on the screenshot itself. The kickoff meeting starts when the project starts, goes in, all the stakeholders get the notification. Push to the next one, please. The objective, the purpose for which it is done, the results, what you expect, everything is given there. If you have an ERP system, it connects directly to that, gets the information. If you have loaded the order over there, comes in, the kickoff meeting gets started, and then you have, go back to the previous slide. That's your minutes of the meeting, which is a template sitting over there. It sets in and records all the information, populates it and gives it to you, or you can do it yourself. Next, please. The process, if you don't do any engineering design work, you are going to do only the process FMEA, and further on, you are only a build to print company, where somebody gives you a print and you just build it based on that. Then the process FMEA initialization goes, and you start with, and you give all the populated information comes in right there, and it kicks off the process. This is how the data card looks. And then the template is provided. You enter the information that you want with regard to the process FMEA. If the design FMEA is there with your customer or with you, you tie both together, or you keep this independent, no issues. Now that you have done this, this information goes to all the stakeholders in the organization as to what to watch for. Next, please. Then the product feasibility agreement initiation. Your customer comes in and says, I want you to demonstrate to me that you are in agreement with what I have asked you for, and that you are going to be in a position it's feasible for you to provide me with what I require. So if you want to put this as a part of the process, this is the workflow. It goes and starts the sign-off for production. Agreement, it's a sign-off report saying that I'm accepting it. Then the warrant comes in and you start the work. Next, please. The feasibility agreement comes in with all the details. It is template driven. You have a template in your organization, you can put it over there. You have a template which is specific for each customer separately, you can put it over there. Or you want us to provide you with a template, we can provide you with the template as well. Next, please. If engineering is involved, if new product development is involved, then how do we go about it? Then the engineering workflow comes into picture, the statement of requirement comes into picture, the QFD benchmarking comes into picture, the feasibility study comes in, the conceptual design starts, and then the DFM, design for manufacture assessment, design for assembly evaluation, and the design review. Many test steps which come together are put together. Some steps could be circumvented if the situation requires it. So the QFD benchmark, the house of quality comes in, you can put it in there. Next, please. The feasibility reports get generated directly into your Word document or whatever, and gets converted into PDF to release it to management or approval, whichever stage gating you are going through. And then comes the design for manufacture assessment. So when the process is getting automated, did you consider all the things that are required for design for manufacture? The checklist is provided. So you go through that checklist, you learn, you add some more things to those checklists as you learn when the product evolves, it is capturing the knowledge inside your organization. So even if people are unavailable in the organization, the knowledge lies with the company for reuse. It's not person specific, it is process centric. The advantage of pushing it through an automated process is that it should not be person specific, it should be process centric. That's where this DFM assessment comes. It's a huge boon for people who are looking at companies where design engineers come and join the company and they don't have the manufacturing background. They don't have the manufacturing experience. Then at least you give them a checklist by which they can go and explore based on your past information that is available inside the organization, or based on your knowledge, you put this together in the reusable form. Next, please. Then the DFA assessment. A lot of times, important information resides in the design for assembly. A lot of times, defects creep into products because people have not looked at the assembly when they are producing the drawings for the parts. Enough said about it. Assembly, you need to check the assembly for a lot of quality parameters in terms of measurable objectives. Now, how are those objectives going to be measured? How are those going to be enumerated on your drawing, in your process? That's where the DFA assessment comes into picture. There are situations wherein you may take a component and you say 4 components go into a container. Now, if I redesign it so that the thickness of the flange can be reduced, I can put 6 components into the container. 2, 2, 2, 2. There's one more. I can put one more inside. Then it is important for me to look at the design for manufacturing, design for assembly considerations, to look at the stack up and then put it in there and keep a record of the data. So if something changes, people know what has changed and what is the reason for it. Then comes the design review. This is a very important thing. Whenever a drawing is released, the design department is only the publisher. The authors are from 3 departments: design, manufacturing, and inspection, quality. So if you are putting an inspection dimension on the drawing and it cannot be inspected, it cannot be accessed to inspect, don't put it on the drawing. If it cannot be inspected, it cannot be put on the drawing. If it cannot be manufactured, it cannot be put on the drawing. So the sign off in the design review takes place with all the 3 stakeholders coming together and saying, I am in it, I am giving you the okay, you can go ahead and release the drawing. This happens at the design stage. Later on, when manufacturing comes in and the process starts shifting, this becomes important. The guy comes in and asks you for a deviation acceptance. You can't give it because he has agreed. When you agree, you are only postponing your problem. I have seen customers where they change it from a circular hole to a slot. When you change it from a circular hole to a slot, you are moving from a deterministic location of the object in the assembly to an indeterministic, probabilistic orientation and location of the object in the assembly. How do you expect reliability to come in? So your reliability gets affected primarily because you have moved it from a hole to a slot, because you postponed your problem. When you postpone the problem, it's going to come back and hit you like a tsunami. What was a small problem earlier, which could have been corrected by checking the manufacturing process deviations, because you wanted to have a good night's sleep, you lost a month's sleep subsequently down the line. I have seen this with so many manufacturers right here in Chennai. I keep seeing them looking at doing this. Please don't do that. So this is where the design review comes of use. So if it has been put on the drawing as a CTQ, a critical to quality, nobody touches it. It doesn't work, it's not acceptable, throw it. The cost of rejection inside your organization is the top of the iceberg, which you see. The cost of rejection after it has been supplied, a defective product, to your customer, knowing pretty well that it was defective, is going to come back to haunt you like the law of karma. We keep seeing it all the time. There's no short ways to success. That's what happens. So the design review is very important in that case. Next, please. So if you see the data card at the bottom over there, you see all those boxes. Once the approvals are in place, those boxes will be ticked automatically. As a result of which you know exactly which stage gate your process is with regard to the product development cycle. So in other words, it is very important for people in the organization to know, according to their roles and responsibilities, where their actions lie. There's one important cost we need to address, which India is not addressing. I repeat, majority of India is not addressing, and that is called as opportunity cost. It's below the sheet of water underneath. In other words, if you do something and you postpone the decision to do it, the cost of postponing the decision to do it is eating into your profitability. The exception to this was Dhirubhai Ambani. I still remember when Kandla port was affected because of cyclone, and there was a 2 crore loss in Jamnagar plant, and Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani was chairing the meeting of all the suppliers, and he comes in and he sits, says, what is the status? People said it would take us 2 months and it would take us 2 crores to fix this. Okay, good, I'll give you 4 crores, fix it within 30 days. Nobody opened their mouth and talked about it. Dhirubhai Ambani was speaking. You don't talk to the chairman of Reliance, right? What was he looking at? Every day of non-function of the company was resulting in more than 1 crore loss in that particular division. So already he is losing so much of money. Spending 2 crores extra and halving the time made sense. That is opportunity cost. By postponing the decisions, the design review compels you to sit and sign off. It will not allow you to proceed any further without it. How relieved you will be after you conduct this and come back and say, oh, this is the last thing that's sitting on my mind, now it's off my mind, I can go and do other things. That is opportunity cost. It's very important that we take decisions at each and every person at their roles and responsibility level and not always delegate it to the top of the pyramid. Yesterday I was having dinner with my son and I asked him, who is at the top of the food pyramid? Just on a side note, because it's too heavy a subject. And he said, man. I said, there is somebody above man. Who is eating man? He said, 9th standard. I said, think. I said, man is not the top of the pyramid. Who is the top of the pyramid? Who is at the top of the food pyramid? We all think it's man, right? Who is at the top of the food pyramid? You love it when I say this answer. As long as you don't come running to hit me. Kosu, sir. Mosquito. Mosquito is above you, whether you like it or not. The human fatality in this world is primarily because of mosquito. Malaria. People die because of malaria. So immediately he said, so God has given a check in terms of the flying missile? I said, yes. Had you not asked this question earlier? I said, one is sitting on your cheek, that's why I reminded myself. Go and hit it. Why? Just a digression. Why? Because I wanted you to come back. There were some people who were having a 40 wings. I know it's difficult to sit in the afternoon and listen to this. So the most important thing is management approval comes in directly over there. It's pending. It pends, it keeps pending. And there's an interesting thing. You can ask somebody to do an approval. If they don't approve, send one more notification. If they don't still approve, send it to their boss. If he doesn't approve, then it goes to the management. You can have an escalation process also here. Somebody may be traveling or may be on leave. You never know, right? So you can do that. The technical proposal now comes into picture after the statement of requirement has been put together. All these versions are documented, and then comes the DFME. You can't cut and paste. You have to do it. It's a part of the process. You like it, you don't like it, it's going to come back and haunt you. I said in the morning, I do not know how many of you picked it up. When you do a Control C and Control V on a DFME, a document, you are inheriting copying all the problems which were there in the previous product onto the next product. You want it, you don't want it, it's up to you. right? So there's no shortcut to success. So when you go through this, all these things are getting populated. The date stamp is there. So exactly what date it has to be finished, notification will go to the person, you have not completed it. So the system works. Manager has time to go home at 5:30 in the evening. And the employee also has a time with his family. Go to the next one. So the DFMEA checklist can be put together as it is shown over here, and you would be in a position to make sure that the compliance is with regard to the checklist that has been given over here. It can be specific to your organization, and you can put this together. Next, please. Template driven. This DFMEA is actually template driven, so you can have multiple templates depending on your customers, depending on your products. You can have different templates, and you can force people to use the template only and nothing else. Now, next comes the quality engineering department. How this can help the quality engineering department? The process inspection flowchart gets initialized. It gives you all the information with regard to supplier, part number, which is the project name, when was the issue date, all the information. It takes it and puts it over there. Then it goes through the flowchart. It gives you all the information with regard to what is the methodology that you incorporate in your APQP process. Same thing is automated and it's given over here. Next, please. Then the role of quality in APQP, the person who's sitting there, he comes to know exactly what are all the milestones, when he needs to finish it. So you can give this information. You can say the start date, end date was given to you like this. This is the time, and if it's red, it means you passed the time, you have not given the information. So like that, you can color code it and give this information. And it will also tell you what's the percentage completion. Next, please. So the gauge list, plan initialization. All these are parallel activities that you can put workflow together, and you can take this on completely. Next, please. So the gauge list preparation information comes in, and then you have the template, and you have all the methodology for planning and control. Everything is documented right then and there. Then the dimensional test results. This is a very important thing. A lot of times we take a prototype from a supplier. We have given the drawings. They have developed the prototype. Now we are taking it onto the test bench. You're testing it. But before testing it, have you done your DVPNR? Design verification, planning and reporting. Have you done a dimensional verification before testing? If you don't do it, this process will scream. I have seen people who have loaded components onto the test rig because of customer pressure, and they tried to do the dimensional verification post-failure. You do not know what caused the death, right then and there. So it's a compliance with the process, because you try to cut short the process. You try to make it faster. Remind yourself of Valluvan Kural. Orikam Virupam Taralan, Orikam Uyirinu, Hombapadu. Okay? Next, please. Then the test results information, the data card. This can be customized, configured the way you want it. And subsequently the template. With the layout on the drawings with the ballooning, you would have seen the inspection part of it, right? Same thing can be taken over here in post-process using this. And the test results are given based on the template. Next, please. And another thing, go back to the previous slide. You can, one of our customer takes the information directly from manufacturing, picking up the measurement information, populates it back into the system on the PDM. What happens as a result of that? Your SPC chart comes up, right? Your design department knows what the process capability is, right? So next time they don't need to ask you what tolerance you want, what tolerance you can manufacture it for. They know exactly from the system itself. It's a huge white canvas. You can put it the way you want it, and you can draw whatever you want, whatever portrait you want. Finally, at the end of the day, it's to serve your requirements. Next, please. Then the appearance approval report comes in. All populated. It could be a part submission warrant. It could be a special sample. It could be resubmission. It could be first production report shipment. It could be engineering change. It could be pre-texture. Any one of these combinations or anything else that you may have with, you can put it over there and you can classify it so that later on when you are doing an audit, you can pick up information according to that and post-process it. You can take only the part submission warrants, PSWs, and look at what went wrong, what went right, all those things subsequently down the line. Next, please. Then the approval report again is template driven. Then the material test initialization. So if you are buying raw materials and you need to test it mandatory every sampling, every certain samples, this process comes of use. Next. The material data test card can be configured the way you want it, and the template driven is giving you the information that needs to be fitted in over there with regard to the material test data. When I was working at Ford Motor Company, we didn't have a system like this in the late 80s. I was working on the suspension spindle. One day my manager suspension called, Nat, let's go to this company and pick up some samples. That was my first exposure to testing and sampling and testing. So I went along with him in his light truck, Ford truck, F-150 series, and we went to a customer's place and we picked up 10 components from different bins from different weeks. And then we took the component as OEM to a testing company separately and told them on Friday, I've given it to you, by next Friday give me the report. Now what will happen if the components fail? 100% inspection is the first penalty that the supplier gets. Understood? See, only when the dog is there, the sheep will come home. Whether you test it or not, whether you inspect it or not, the very fear that the customer is going to come and pick up samples to go and dimensionally inspect it is enough to keep the sheep coming home. Are you with me? The fear. To one of our customers, I said, reject the component, this is atrocious, reject it. Sir, I cannot reject it. I said, why? Sir, they are related upstairs. Who is related upstairs? Management, you know. பொண்ணு கொடுத்து பொண்ணு வாங்கியிருக்காங்க, அதுக்கும் பார்ட் குவாலிட்டிக்கு என்னப்பா சம்பந்தம்? கூடியா சீதனம் கொடு திருப்பி அப்படின்னு, சீதனத்தோட குவாலிட்டி சரியில்லைன்னு திருப்பி கொடு அப்படின்னு. சார் எப்படி சார்? நான் சொன்னேன் கொடுக்கு, நான் தான் சொன்னேன் என் தலையில் தூக்கி போடு. He is not, the supplier is not involved when it comes to your cost of poor quality when you go to your customer, right? He is insulated, you are only facing it, right? Institutionalize the process, that's where this comes of you. So I have seen 90% of the problems that arise out of poor reliability are only because of two things: poor dimensional management inspection, monitoring, poor materials. Two things. This is thumb down, finger up, out. இப்படிதான் சொல்லுவார் அம்பையர். தம்ஸ் டவுன் அப்படிதான் சொல்லுவீங்க, அதான் ரெண்டு இப்படி சொன்னேன். சரியா? நெக்ஸ்ட். ஸோ த கேஜ் R&R, ஐயோ இது ரொம்ப அட்ராஷியஸ், நிறைய பேர் பண்றதே கிடையாது. முதல்ல ஐயோ பண்ணிட்டேன் சார். என்னைக்கு பண்ணேன்? 2 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி, போன சரஸ்வதி பூஜைக்கு. கரெக்டா இல்லையா? ஒத்துக்குவாங்க. சைனால சொல்லிட்டான் எங்களுக்கு சரஸ்வதி பூஜையே கிடையாதுன்ட்டான். புரிஞ்சுதா? Did you understand what I said? நீயாவது சரஸ்வதி பூஜைக்கு ஒரு வாட்டி பண்ற. So gauge R&R realization, right? Initialization. Next please. So the complete information gets the appraiser, approver, everything comes in over there. Next please. And then you have a template based report. So every time you get an audit from your customer, you get this information, you give him a login and say, just go and pick up whatever you want. See it. It's there. I don't need to sit and spend time with you. I have better things to do on my product. Next please. Production readiness review report. Again, same thing. See, all these processes are all on a right mouse button click. You are going through that. And the manufacturing location, if you have multiple locations, you can go through it according to that. Next please. And then the readiness report comes in. Who has completed what, whether it's green, yellow, red, can be color coded and you can set it over there automatically. Next please. And then the engineering change management. Instead of writing 0 ppm on the walls of your companies, please write 0 ECN. It will save tons of money for your company. Every ECN in an organization kills the company's profitability. Whether it is customer driven, in which case you can invoice him. If your marketing has the stomach to do that, you know, right? எல்லாம் கொடுக்கறது இல்லை, வந்துடுவான். கேட்டா சார் இன்வாய்ஸ் பண்ணுங்க, டெபிட் நோட் போடுங்க. ஏன் போட மாட்டேங்கிறீங்க? அடுத்த வாட்டி கொடுக்க மாட்டாங்கல்ல, இல்லாட்டி என்ன பண்ணுது? போன வாட்டி கொடுத்தீங்களா, இந்த வாட்டி கொடு. So that is very important. You do that. We were going live with one of our customers. This is a real story. The engineering manager is the person who approves the ECM. Seriya, in the company. The executive director of this company was sitting there. Ellaru ribbon cutting ku executive director கூப்பிட்டு சார் நீங்க வந்து go live போங்க சார். இது வம்பு. அவரு சும்மா இருப்பாரா? Please show me the workflow அப்படின்னா. ECN workflow அப்படின்னா. He showed. Who is approving the ECNs? The engineering manager was so energetic and so nice to tell, own up. Put one approval above it, it has to come to me. He is the executive director of the company. Now let me see how many ECNs come. There was complete silence. என்னடா அது நாதஸ்வரம் தவிலு எல்லாம் வச்சு நல்ல மங்களகரமா ஆரம்பிக்கணும்னு பார்த்தா ECNக்கு எக்ஸிக்யூட்டிவ் டைரக்டர் மேல கையெழுத்து போடணுங்கிறாரு. இப்போ அதோட இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் தெரியுதா? ECN skills companies profitabilities, money on the table that you are losing. So you need to monitor the reasons for this extensively. So you can do the initialization. Next please. It can tell you what product, which department is initializing it. Marketing department or supplier or engineering department or your production department or your service department. Who is initiating it? You can get this information right there because they are the people who are going to initiate it. You will know exactly at the end of the year in the audit trail when you are doing a performance review for a guy, hey, you didn't have 0 ECN. For every one of them KPI. Otherwise, how do you expect profitability to come to the organization? Next please. You can go to that extent. I'm not scaring you. That's the workflow. Right there. And then you can change the workflow, configure it the way you want it. Next one please. And the status can be seen directly and the report. Engineering change note comes right there with populated information that you have given. This helps you to automate the complete process, small or large, doesn't matter. Whether you are following APQP or not following APQP, you are following bits and pieces of this, not following bits and pieces of this, still doesn't matter. You can put the workflow for only what activities that you do, that you need to monitor, that you can go to sleep saying that people are working only within the system. That is the only way your product reliability can be enhanced. There are no magic shows here. So this process helps you to automate. So in other words, starting with the statement of requirement, going through design, going through build, going through control, and going through reporting it, monitoring it, and improving it on the process. This is exactly how people need to do. One metric I would like to share with you. One of our customers, he releases drawings for his products, 3,000 to 3,500 components per product. The entire thing is automated. It goes through the approval process and it comes out. Imagine he is producing 300 of those products per year. He has been using this product since 2011. Since 2011 they have gone live and they have been using it. This division, the ISO audit person spends 40 minutes auditing him. Another division, which is yet to implement, it takes 8 working days to audit him. And last audit, that auditor got impatient. He said, "We implement what this division has done. Next time I don't want to go through this with you." This is what the auditor has said. In the same company, 2 different, one is project division, one is product division. Product division has implemented it, project division has not yet implemented it. I'm giving you the pros and cons of with it and without it. Next please. So the benefits are compliance to standards, inside your organization. It need not be ISO or any other standard. It can be your standards inside the organization. Heads up on status in workflow, where you are, revision and change management control, document and data management. These are completely different. People don't look at these kinds of tools as document management systems. They are not document management systems. They are data management systems. Engineers do not work with documents. They work with documents containing data. It is only the data that we process, not the document itself. So in other words, it's live data that you're taking and you are making decisions based on that. So that's what it is. So you can do your document as well as your data management, error proofing of the process for eliminating rework, and then automated audit trail for MRM, for management review meetings and customer submission if required. And last one is it eliminates the time and effort spent in audit preparation and compliance. Thank you very much.